From my recollection at this point in time, around 50 years ago, I and a friend, we hunted quite a bit together. And at that point in time, when we were doing these things, this fellow lived in the Fort Collins area, Colorado, and I did too. And we did quite a bit of mostly elk hunting, some deer hunting, some antelope hunting together, coyote hunting, and one thing another. I believe that this was during a time, when I was working at an outfit, manufacturing things, making tool and die aspects, doing machine work and so forth. And anyway, the two of us took out, drove about 35 miles out of Fort Collins up into some country. And an area called the Hooter Canyon. Anyway, we were hunting elk. And we were hunting some real mountainous country, fairly steep mountainside, quite a bit of cover, few openings, places that were shaded, places that were rocky, and one thing another. And I never left anywhere on a walk, on a hunt, without having at least something to drink and something to eat. And it got the latter part of the morning, and we were separated, and we were supposed to meet back at the pickup, at his pickup, and we were just working our way along, separate from one another, not knowing exactly where each other were, but we're going to meet later in the day. And I've been doing this, we've been at this for about 3 hours or more. And I got hungry, and I had a sandwich, and I had a candy bar, and I had a little something to drink. Always had more to drink when we got back to the vehicle and more to eat and one thing another, because we could be out the whole entire day and into the evening and into the night. And over time, studying in my mind, I decided that it was probably time to maybe kind of start retreating off the mountain. And it was, by now it's getting kind of past noon and into the afternoon. And I gradually worked my way back to where the vehicle was, and having been at it for somewhere around 5 hours or something like that, I got back to the outfit, and guess you should have hit a key or something so that I could get back to the outfit. And my friend wasn't there. My friend Ray wasn't there. And anyway, I was tired. I was a little bit tired, and I needed to just simply rest. Well, the sun was shining. The sun was shining a little bit on the passenger side of the vehicle, and I just thought, well, I'm just gonna lay right down here by the front tire of the pickup. And I was kind of curled up there and resting. And I don't know, I probably laid there for 45 minutes or an hour or something about that. And I was stirred when Ray came back, see me laying there, resting, and started talking, and I hear him, and I wake up from my nap, and boy, I just feel absolutely like hell. I just feel rotten. And by this time, the sun was just leaving that particular area, because the ridge in front of us there was, blocking where the sunshine was headed into the west, and I was cold, and I stood up and whatnot. I was kind of a little bit disoriented. I just felt rotten, and I was shaking a little bit. And we got in the pickup, and Ray started up the pickup and warmed up the pickup, and told him, I said, I just feel like crap. I says, I got kind of a uncomfortable chest, I don't feel right. I don't feel right in the head. Now Ray had been in the service and one thing and another, and he had encountered various things, and he automatically hit on the idea that I had hypothermia. And I had hypothermia, let me tell you. I had sweated and sweated hunting. I come in and I cooled way down. My body temperature dropped way down. I was cool. I was shivering a little bit, you see, in the pickup. He says, we got to get you warmed up, and we got to get some hot food in you. Well, it was only just a few miles down the road. There was a fellow that had a little restaurant there in an RV park and kind of some cabins and one thing and another, and we pulled in there. And we ordered something hot, exactly what it was. Plus, and ordered some hot apple pie, and got some hot tea because I was a tea drinker. Ray drank coffee all the time, and I started drinking some hot tea with a little bit of lemon in it, and gosh, it tasted good. And after maybe about 45 minutes or an hour from the time I'd woke up, I was coming around pretty good, and I was feeling pretty good. But it just come over me. And I don't know exactly why. I don't know if it was because of where my system was at the time, exactly how everything was, But I'd been in a lot of situations previous to that over the years in my young lifetime, and I was pretty young then, you see. And I'd be out all day, and I'd hunt on snowshoes, trapping, and really use up a tremendous amount of energy, and sometimes in 30, 40 below zero weather all day long walking, and never warm, but cold, but not froze. Just short of being damn near froze. But there was that combination that day of that sweat and the exertion that went on, and the energy that I guess that I used up. And it kind of stuck with me for a while, that energy loss that I experienced from this hypothermia situation. So I've been hunting almost my entire lifetime, and I've walked a long ways in a day and done a lot of tremendous amount of work in a day, butchering elk and one thing and another, and loading them, and a lot of it by myself, or maybe even maybe with somebody and several animals, you see, and having to pack horses and mules and all these things. But I never ever felt, ever before that or ever after that, that I was ever in a situation, that I experienced that day. It's that if I hadn't laid down there, if I had just been upright and maybe was moving around and walking around, I think that everything would have just kind of, straightened itself all out. But it wasn't a fun experience, I'm going to tell you. So, all of us can have hypothermia, I guess, when the situation is just right, and it evidently was right that day because I sure had it.
Kenny and Keith hypothermia.
Huh?
Had Kenny and Keith hypothermia stories.
That wasn't just my only experience with some hypothermia. I had a friend that we hunted together quite a lot, and he was going through some rough times and one thing and another, and didn't have work, and and had a huge problem in a wife that he was married to, he kind of took off into the mountains by himself, and he drove an old Chevy Suburban, a half-ton Suburban, and he went all over the mountains, hunting deer and coyotes and one thing and another in that old Suburban. And it was in the winter time, and he took off, and went into some country he knew, and the snow got deep, and he got stuck, and he got out of it, and got stuck, and got out. And in that whole damn process, he created the situation. And I don't know, it was around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and I heard a vehicle pull in. Our garage was immediately right behind the house, and I heard a vehicle pull in, and it just sat there running. I went out, and old Kenny, he was slumped over the wheel, and the Suburban was running, and he was just short of totally 100% spent. And I sensed it right off the bat, and I felt him. He had a good warm truck and whatnot, but he was just kind of trembling. We got the truck shut off, and we brought him inside. He had hypothermia, and we got some hot tea in him and some hot soup. And it took him about an hour. To be able to kind of come around.
Piled blankets on top of him.
And anyway, it really kind of, affected him for a time. He just simply, upon poor choice, did some of the things he did that day. But he knew how to get home. He knew how to, and I don't know how in the world he ever got that Suburban unstuck, except for the fact that a Suburban has got quite a bit of weight to the back end, and he was able to get out of the snow drifts that he bucked and got through and get back to our home, which was kind of in a roundabout way out of the way, but he knew how to get there. And, but he had it. And, I've got an old friend that I used to trap with, and was young, and we hunted and fished together, and went to the mountains together and one thing another. And his family had a ski lodge, and there was a bridge that went across the river, and it didn't have any rails on the side or anything, and it was barely wider than the width of the tires of a pickup truck. And I'm driving my pickup truck across it, and he's got the door open, and he's kind of watching the edge of the bridge in relationship to the pickup, because you couldn't exactly see, and all of a sudden the damn front wheel on his side went off the bridge, and he had the door open a little bit, and he fell out of the truck, and he fell into an open hole in the ice in the river, and it was about 35 below zero. And he disappeared under the ice in the river. And I thought, oh my God, And it was just a matter of moments. He shot out of it like a shark coming up out of the ocean, shot out of the river. And he lit on some ice there, and he just kind of collapsed, He was all used up. And I was able to get out and walk across the running board of the truck and have the truck shut off, and it was on the damn bridge, And we walked the 75, 80 yards up to the ski lodge, and it was all warmed up there, and he went in there, and he had to get all warmed up. But he couldn't murmur a word. He couldn't say a word. He couldn't say a word for just about an hour. He was just totally scared to death. But he reacted absolutely instantly. And, there was evidently just enough space under the ice in the depth of the river for him to be able to, come out of there. I think he was probably on his hands and knees under the ice, and he just kind of jumped and just shot out of there, just like a shark coming up out of the water in the ocean. But, that was quite an experience. But, you know, I never knew, you know, going back to my hypothermia situation, that I would ever have that type of situation that those two companions over the years experienced. But, you know, you need to pay attention. You need to be aware and have some kind of ability to be able to take care of yourself.